Hello, everybody. I hope you are having a great day. Thank you for tuning in to this video version of our weekly blog post. Uh, Before I dive into this, just want to thank all of you who are supporting us by tuning into our morning boost videos and especially over to our podcast because we're super excited about the podcast. It's something that we've been anticipating doing for a long time. And we've got our number 4 episode out today with our good friend Ty Jensen. And so we hope that you'll go over to iTunes and subscribe to the podcast. Um, you can listen to the episode there and the other 3 episodes we have, plus our introductory episode where John and I introduce ourselves a little bit. But we appreciate that. We hope that you will, again, subscribe, that you'll share this with a friend or a family member and let them know what we're doing. The reason we're doing this is that we really are trying to spread a message of positivity, positive messages out there in a world that's full of negativity, and trying to encourage people to go out there and fulfill their potential and become the best that they can be. We're trying to do that ourselves. This is something that makes us happy, and so we appreciate you immensely. With that being said, I'm going to dive into this video version of the blog post here. I entitled it "Relationships Really Are Everything." I'm going to try to zip through this fast because I tend to be long-winded. But basically the reason I decided to write this is that my wife had a baby this past week. So we've had a lot of fun in our family this week. This is child number 5 for us. We had a little boy. We're excited about it. We've had a lot of fun this week. Had a lot of visitors, had a lot of people reach out to us and express their happiness for us. It's made us feel good, and it's reminded me of how important relationships are. And I think about every time my wife has a baby, I think of how much of a miracle it is that first of all, that she's growing somebody inside of her. This is always amazing to me. And second of all, that when the baby is born, then I have another person in my life that I have the opportunity to love and care for. And I've often wondered, is my capacity to love going to expand enough to love this little person as much as I do the rest of my children? And it happens every time. It's a miracle. And so it's reminded me this past week how important relationships are. They really are everything. They mean so much to us. They bring meaning into life. They bring joy and happiness. They give us a reason to really feel good about ourselves because we have other people that care about us. And so, I've spent some time studying other people's lives. It's one of the things I've really enjoyed in life is reading biographies and studying successful people. And I've talked to other people about this too, and they would all agree that relationships really are the most important thing we have. And to be successful in life, we have to be successful in our relationships, whether that's in our personal lives or in business. And some people are tempted to think that they can do it on their own, and there are people who are, quote unquote, loners that really just like being on their own, but even they can't get away from all human interaction. We all interact with people and the things we do, whether it's buying a house, buying a car, buying food, buying clothing, whatever it is, we deal with people. So all of us who enjoy relationships know how much relationships can be meaningful in our lives. And so what I've done is I've put together 7 ideas that came to my mind as I was thinking about relationships this past week. Just want to run through them quickly. There's many others that we can think about in helping to cultivate our relationships. But what it comes down to really is that people want to know that we care about them. And so we need to do things to let them know that we care about them. First thing I wrote down is phoning a friend. We live in a day and age when texting's big, emailing, social media. Sometimes a phone call is the best way to go. And I had this experience just the other day with a friend I hadn't seen for several years, and he actually called me on the phone. I was surprised. I hadn't heard from him for about 6 months, and he's been very busy, so I've tried not to bother him too much, but we've kept in contact through texting. But he called me on the phone, and it was so nice to talk to him. We caught up on what was going on in each other's lives. We laughed and reminisced a little bit. It was just good. It felt good. And so I would challenge you to think about somebody you haven't talked to for a while and give them a phone call. It will help to strengthen your relationship. Second thing I thought of was getting together for lunch. You know, we all need to eat, so why not do it with a friend? It's a good time to catch up to each other and spend a few minutes strengthening your relationship by just visiting and having a good time. So give somebody a phone call and ask them to go out to lunch with you. Planning a trip together. This is one thing that my family's really enjoyed doing uh, with family and friends is planning trips and getting away from the business of the world, whether it's an overnight thing or maybe a week thing to Disneyland or whatever. We like going to Disneyland. So it seems like we do that every year about anymore. But we have a lot of fun, and it's good to get away and spend time with family and friends, and a good chance to strengthen relationships. The fourth thing here is acknowledging our friends' characteristics that we admire. You know, this is an important thing. Everybody likes to be praised, whether we like to admit it or not. We like to receive praise, and it's good for us to learn to express our gratitude and acknowledge what we admire in other people. By doing that, which can be hard to do because that's not something we usually do in our everyday speech, it seems like, but acknowledging other people's good characteristics makes them feel good. And they, in turn, will want to do that back. I had this experience about 10 years ago where I felt the desire to write somebody I admired and had looked up to as a teenager and in my early adulthood, and I still admire him, but I don't have a lot of interaction with him anymore. But I wrote him a letter, and I expressed my gratitude and acknowledged him for some things I really admired about him. And you know, I ran into him about a month after that, which was unexpected, and he told me how much he appreciated that letter, and it made me feel good, and it made him feel good. And so we can acknowledge other people for the goodness that we admire in them. The fifth thing is stepping in and helping when our friends really need it. I had an individual tell me that about 5 or 6 years ago, he and his wife lost their oldest son when he was 12 years old. And looking back on all the help they received, there were two people that stood out the most. And the reason they stood out is because instead of just offering help, they actually showed up and helped. Without being asked, they showed up and helped, and they took care of a few things for this family that had been overlooked in their preparations for the funeral and everything. And it was really nice for them. You know, we're all going to have bad struggles at times when we need help. And so we can be the friend who steps in and helps. It will strengthen our relationships immensely. The sixth thing I wrote down was being a good listener. And you know, this one speaks for itself almost, but learning the skills of being a good listener will help us in every interaction we have with people. But if we can learn to listen to people and understand them without always having to have the last word, but just really listening and letting people express their feelings, good or bad, about what's going on in their lives, that will strengthen our relationships tremendously. So learning to be a good listener. Speaking highly of our friends in conversations with others. I thought this was a good one because it's always sad when we hear people speaking badly about their friends, and you know that they're friends. And the thing is, we're all different, and we have our differences that sometimes bug us, you know, this or that about the friends that we have. But you know what? If we value our friendships, then we should uphold and support our friends in every situation. We should maintain the integrity of our friendship and not destroy that by talking badly or in a negative light about our friends. We should uphold them and defend our friendships. So those are the 7 things I thought of: making a phone call to a friend, getting together for lunch, planning a trip together, acknowledging the characteristics we admire in our friends, stepping in and helping when we have a friend in need, being a good listener, and speaking highly of our friends in conversations with others. These things will help strengthen our relationships with our family and friends. It will help us to experience joy and happiness in our lives. We all love feeling cared for, and we can be those friends that care for others by expressing our gratitude and reaching out and doing something special today. So I would challenge us all to reach out today and do something special for our friends. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Thank you.